Interviewing people, I believe, is a craft and skill that not everybody can or should do simply because they have millions of followers and because they're a celebrity. Hello, hi, and welcome back to another episode of Ode to Pop Culture. I hope y'all didn't forget the tagline is yap and snack, and today's snack of choice is actually the same as in the previous video, the undefeated Greg's Yum Yum. To tell you the truth, this is the only sweet treat in my house right now. My best friend is getting married in a month and I'm trying to be good, trying to cut down on the sugar. So it was between this and a rice cake, and the rice cake option seemed a little pretentious. And today's topic is something I'm surprised I didn't talk about sooner, as someone with a journalism degree and is now prioritizing their own content and establishing their own brand. I feel like I can offer an interesting perspective to this. The good old influencer versus journalist debate and the celebrity to talk show host pipeline. I feel like this discourse has been pretty heavy in the last 2 years, but in recent months, the respectable journalist profession, or lack thereof, has raised eyebrows due to the babyface incident, that Megan Thee Stallion chat that was dripping in microaggressions, and the Jennifer Hudson show. I firstly want to start this off by saying that interviewing people, I believe, is a craft and skill that not everybody can or should do simply because they have millions of followers and because they're a celebrity. And it's interesting to see how this landscape of media has shifted. We see more content creators at premieres and junkets, and that wasn't the case before. Before, it would be a journalist working at a traditional media outlet or a big newspaper organization. And today it seems like it's done a big 180, and it seems that people are just interviewing people for vibes and there's no journalistic integrity. And yet we're hearing thousands of reporters and journalists being laid off year after year. Now let's talk about the three examples I mentioned earlier, starting with the babyface incident that happened at this year's Grammys. Two Associated Press reporters were on the red carpet asking Babyface, the Babyface, about his thoughts on modern R&B singers incorporating different genres into their music. And as he was answering, one of them turned their body away to get Chapel Roan's attention. And Babyface, bless him, was like, all right, you go do that, meaning go and talk to Chapel. Now naturally, cutting someone off mid-sentence is rude, but 13-time Grammy winner Babyface? Oh, you lost your mind. Now, as someone who has attended their fair share of red carpets, we thank God, I understand the pressure to get that big star. I remember one of my first big carpets was for The Lost City, so that was starring Sandra Bullock, Daniel Radcliffe and Channing Tatum. And Daniel Radcliffe was the first big star to walk the media line, and naturally he's one of the people that everyone wants to speak to. And I was actually chatting to the director as Daniel was making his way to the line, and in my mind I was thinking, oh, I really want to chat to Daniel, but if I'm talking to the director, his people are gonna usher him on to the next person. But thankfully the conversation naturally ended between myself and the director, and I was able to speak to Daniel. 9 times out of 10 when a big star walks past, it's very, very rare that they're going to come back. So it's very much one shot only. But let's just say when I was chatting to the director and he was going on a bit and Daniel had walked past, cutting the director off mid-sentence was not an option. And that's not on red carpet etiquette. That's on basic human decency. Fast forward to March this year at the Vanity Fair Oscar party, an influencer, I want to say her name was Hannah Berner, was talking to Megan Thee Stallion, congratulating her on her Prime documentary. She said, and I quote, "When I want to fight someone, I listen to your music." Now, this is where I get a little bit shady, as in this is when the spirit of Wendy Williams is going to take over. There is a clear lack of research going on because everyone and their mum and their pet know the violence that Megan endured. So it was pretty obvious that that wasn't the most intelligent comment to make. And let's not forget the reinforced stereotypes on black women, because that wasn't a microaggression, that was macro. Similar to the Babyface incident, the influencer issued an apology, just like those two journalists did, but it highlighted a bigger problem that journalists are being somewhat encouraged to behave like influencers and outlets are prioritizing clicks over natural, engaging conversation. Now let's fast forward to a little show called The Jennifer Hudson Show, and guys, I want to start this off by saying I absolutely adore Jennifer Hudson. Her self-titled album, oh, I had it on repeat. If this isn't love, tell me what it is. That was my song, and Dreamgirls is one of my favorite films. But, and God forgive me, whoever came up with that spirit tunnel idea, that concept, they deserve a raise, because without it, like I said, I love me some Jennifer Hudson, but her interviewing style makes me so shy. I think everyone caught on when her chat with Kesha was doing the rounds on social media, and Kesha was basically explaining how she was an extra on Dreamgirls, and all we kept hearing was, really? No follow-up questions, and it basically looked for that 5 minutes that Kesha was practically interviewing herself. And then that Eddie Murphy interview. So Eddie was talking about how his son and Martin Lawrence's daughter got married, which firstly, I don't think a lot of people are making enough noise about that, because those Thanksgiving get-togethers, they're going to be one big comedy show. So Eddie was saying how his son and Martin's daughter got married in secret, and Jennifer proceeded to ask, oh, did you sing at the wedding? And Eddie was like, no, because it had already happened. And then Jennifer proceeded to ask again, did you sing at the wedding? And Eddie's just like, girl, like, is this thing on? Like, I just said they got married in secret. Which again sparked this whole conversation of, should celebrities be having their own talk show? And like I said before, I think this whole thing of celebrities interviewing each other, celebrities being on certain podcasts, I think it's such a hit and miss, because interviewing, like I said, is such a skill and craft that comes with it, and it's not a thing that anybody can just do. Talk shows like Jennifer's, and I admire this woman so much vocally, Kelly Clarkson's, and again, I think this woman is such a vibe, Drew Barrymore. Every time I see their interview clips pop up on my For You page, I'm just like, where's the follow-up questions? Like, the transitions are not transitioning, and it just goes to show that it's not as easy as people think it is. However, back in the day when Keke Palmer had her TV show, I can't remember what it was called. Was it just It's Keke Y'all or something like that? I thought she did an incredible job, and I think it's because Keke naturally has one of those personalities where she could vibe with a brick wall, so naturally she just had that charisma and it just looks so effortless. Another person as well that I think is so underrated is Penn Badgley. What's the name of his podcast? Is it Podcast or something like that? I haven't seen every episode, but I saw the episodes he did with Ariana Grande and Demi Lovato. You can tell with Penn that even though he's an actor and hasn't had much interview experience prior, because he's probably used to being on the other side of it, that he's a naturally curious person. Like, he naturally cares about the person's creative journey, so therefore he's able to ask intriguing and engaging questions because he cares. There's been a lot of articles saying that influencers are the downfall of entertainment journalism and how the careers of actual journalists are in flames. Now, for those that don't know, I was an entertainment reporter. I guess I still am, but I worked for a big media corporation in the UK for 3.5 years, and in February this year I handed in my notice, and at the end of March I quit my job to prioritise my own content and establish a brand for myself. I know some of you might be asking, girl, in this economy, are you crazy? But I have dreams of being a TV presenter and an entertainment correspondent, as in, I want to be the go-to person on the Golden Globes red carpet, the Oscars, the Met Gala, the Brits, the Grammys. And what I've noticed about working in a corporation is that it can only take you so far. And I know that in order for me to make a name for myself, I have to put myself out there and prioritize my own content and establish myself as a brand. And that thought actually sparked my content creator journey at the end of 2022. So in the words of teen pop sensation Hannah Montana, I'm living the best of both worlds, as a journalist and as a creator. Do I believe influencers are the downfall of entertainment journalism? I'm going to play devil's advocate from an influencer perspective. While I agree that interviewing is a skill that requires practice, no undergraduate/master's degree will teach you how to have a conversation. You either have it or you don't. I mean, there are some journalists that have all the credentials, as in their roster ranges from Barack Obama to Beyonce. But if you watch their interviews, you'll probably switch off because they're just following a set of predetermined questions that doesn't really spark an engaging reply, or they don't have a personality. And in that same breath, you could have a content creator who didn't study journalism, doesn't have a media degree, yet their charismatic levels are just off the charts, and you'll be watching their interviews with celebrities laughing and smiling. So that's why I don't agree with this whole notion that content creators and influencers need to be banned from premieres and red carpets. But what I will say is that I believe agencies and studios really need to invest in creators that have a real passion for TV, film, music, etc. Because the interactions that I absolutely loathe are the ones where they've plucked a random creator with 1 million+ followers, and you can tell that their interest in whatever it is that they're speaking about or whatever the interviewee is promoting is not there. The questions are so amateur and basic, and the interview just looks stale AF. And we have journalists like Kevin McCarthy. Listen, if you don't know about Kevin, get to know. His questions are on a different level, and you can literally see the excitement in the eyes of whoever he speaks to, because the questions are just so well thought out and they're coming from a genuine place of interest. And that passion is something I always try and demonstrate in my interviews. Before every interview, of course, I have a list of 10 set questions, because sometimes you never know who you're going to speak to. You never know if they're going to be on your vibe or not. So sometimes it's just best to play it safe and just have questions ready, just in case they keep their answers short and sweet, so you can just have something to keep the conversation flowing. But I'm grateful for the interviews that I've had my 10 questions, but out of those 10, I've only asked maybe 2 or 3, and the rest have been follow-up ones in the moment. And what's funny, because what's going on in my head in that moment is, oh my gosh, I don't think this is flowing very well. and then I watch it back and I'm like, not to blow my own trumpet or anything, but I'm a who. And this is why I'll never accept any Amelia de Moldenberg slander, because I read somewhere that before every chicken shop date, before every guest that she interviews on that red carpet, she is doing her research. As in researching every guest in attendance, even the ones that she might not even be speaking to. Sean Evans, Hot Ones guy, an incredible concept with engaging questions. Now I'm blessed that I've reached a point in my creative journey where I've been invited into the junket rooms and on the media premiere lines. I mean, we're not all the way there yet, but I thank God that my name has been called. But aspiring presenters and journalists reach out to me online, which I find incredibly flattering, asking for advice on how to make it into the industry. And of course, naturally, I reply saying things like reach out to your local stations, and I provide them with links to media schemes and apprenticeships that they can join to get their foot in the door. But I often wonder what it feels like for the younger generation who are seeing these big corporations that advocate for fresh talent and new voices, and they're picking people with 1 million+ followers or already have this big social media presence, and they're the ones getting the big opportunities instead of people that they can relate to. And I can imagine that it's so disheartening because they're thinking, well, I don't fit into that criteria, so does that mean I'm not going to make it? Statistics showed last year that there was a massive layoff of journalists across the UK and the US from outlets such as Refinery29, Vice, BuzzFeed. And I believe the rise of influencer culture plays a big part of that, as well as the shift from traditional media to short form and long form digital content. I'm going to end this episode by saying to all the aspiring presenters and journalists out there, I know with this industry it constantly ebbs and flows. 1 minute it's looking hopeful and the next minute it's looking a bit bleak. Please, please, please don't give up on your craft, and don't wait for the perfect moment or opportunity. If you have that talk show idea, that TV show vision, don't wait, make it yourself. Something I'm even reminding myself to do on the daily. I believe that there is no industry or business venture that is oversaturated. Whatever you want to create, do it and you will be rewarded because that foundation has been built. And I hope that was a lovely and uplifting way to end the episode. Thank you so much for watching. You can follow me on my journey on Instagram and TikTok. Let's grow the family, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!